All right, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We have a very exciting call for you all today. We are worldwide today. Our CEO of both Celligence and SunWest is going to be tuning in here from Stockholm, I believe. So he'll be popping on here to say hello. And then we've also got a special guest that's going to be joining us, Luther Sanchez. So Luther Sanchez is a extremely successful real estate agent, decades of experience in real estate, one of the top brokers in the country, one of the top selling agents at the number 2 most successful Century 21 office in the world. So huge accomplishment. I can't wait to hear more about how Luther was able to achieve that. And here he is right now. I was just, Luther, introducing you, giving some background on you to the group. I know you're going to have a lot of awesome insight for folks on the call, both our realtor audience and originators as well. Pavan's going to be popping on here to join us here from Stockholm. So he's all over the place. But Luther, thank you so much for joining us. Where are you calling in from?
Beautiful city of Pico Rivera. I wish I was in Stockholm.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thanks again for joining us. So tell us just a little bit about your background, your experience. I was sharing, you've been in the industry for a couple decades now, so you've got a lot of great experience. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, you got to put it like that. A couple of decades. It makes me sound like a good dinosaur. Yeah. So in a few months, it'll be 26 years. Did I just say? Oh, there you are. Sorry, I keep getting calls. It'll be 26 years. Got into real estate as a part-time thing for the purpose of paying off school debt. So I went to school for engineering, worked in that for 4 years, and got into real estate part-time in the weekends just to pay off that school debt. And it was a newfound passion. So I tried it for a year, was successful, and never looked back. So it's been almost 26 years on that.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And it looks like Pavan has joined us. Pavan, where are you at? You're literally on the move.
Yes, I apologize. The scheduling didn't work out as I thought it would. My bad in the time zone calculations. It's a little noisy here, so I'm going to go on mute. I should be out in a quieter place in a little bit. I'll let you guys continue. I'll jump back in once it's quiet.
Awesome. Thanks, Pavan. So, Luther, you found this newfound passion. You never looked back. What strategies do you employ to, that have allowed you to become and consistently be a top producing realtor?
Well, there's that heart and hustle muscle I've always had, but it's just keeping the goals in front of me and knowing what I'm working towards. It allows me to keep my eyes off of like the mundane tasks that we end up having to do here, which is prospecting and speaking with so many clients. So when you come from a place of like, hey, I'm wanting to contribute to the people that I work with, and I mean, at some point you're changing their lives, ultimately to change my life as well, my family's life, and leave a legacy. The reason I left engineering because I saw so many more options with real estate. It's so there's so many things you could do, from getting into development, into purchasing and acquiring rental properties, which I've practiced, I've done. I mean, from building my own home to doing more developments and purchasing rental properties and creating that passive cash flow that would allow me and my family to do other things that are more, focus on like contributing and giving back, which ultimately I do plan to do pretty soon with my kids, especially. So it really added to the purpose, and I stay connected to all the seeds that I plant, not the harvest that I try to force to reap sometimes, that a lot of people do, and just keep that focus and trust the process pretty much.
I love that. Yeah. And by doing it yourself, like you said, building your own home, having that experience, I'm sure it makes you, even more of a valuable advisor to the clients that you're working with on all these different types of projects.
Yes, it helps. Certainly people paint it out to be like something out of this world. Oh my God, it's something small, be like a crazy project that they can't see themselves overcoming. And I'll just like, hey, it's just these 5 steps. I'll be resourceful and connected with who you need, and we'll tackle that or get that down. And just negotiating something with somebody on a pre-sale city where they painted that out to be something very bad because they hear horror stories about it. But that's part of adding value to the people that you work with, and you simplify it. I mean, you're a problem solver. So once they know that you're on their team and you're going to help them and guide them through those things that they're kind of scared of, then it really becomes a win-win scenario when you work with people.
So can you describe your approach to how you build and maintain those relationships, whether it be with clients or, others that you work with in the industry that you're kind of pulling together to help your client?
Well, relationships, it's all about that. And it's like everything contributes, from your relationship towards your peers, other agents in the business. I wasn't always the best at that, because when we get really busy, I forget to add that component and remember, hey, there's another person, another agent going through the same struggles I'm going through on the other end of this transaction. And I've loosened up on being so uptight with, hey, just business, because people, when I just like open up to them, they're like, hey, you're actually a pretty cool guy. I want to get to know you. It's hard to get to know everyone, but it's like, hey, I'm just out here doing the same thing you're doing. We're just trying to get a piece of the pie, and I focus on bringing value to the clients. So what I want to do is, we orchestrate a lot of parties coming together. So it's how you deliver the news, how you communicate. Are you a good communicator? Are you good with clients when it comes to delivering even bad news? Like how you inform them of something that's not as pleasurable versus making the good things pleasurable. The whole thing of home ownership and selling a home, it can be a pleasurable process, even though things go wrong. So I kind of keep that as like, hey, the client experience is what matters, and it doesn't end when you close a deal. It's like that's when the relationship is open and you stay in touch with them, continue to provide value. There's so many ways you can continue to provide value, but also keeping your finger on the pulse of their goals, their real estate goals, as far as other income properties or upgrading their home or improvements, or just being a resource, to continue to be a resource no matter what. And sometimes I'm a resource towards a lot of other things. I mean, I get calls on relationship advice, and the other agents that are on here, I'm sure they know sometimes you become like a mediator, or a lot of other, you play different hats. I mean, you wear different hats. So you got to do what you got to do sometimes just to continue to bring value and help them out. The thing I always ask is, how can I make your life better? Doesn't have to be real estate, but it's interesting how when you focus on bringing value, they'll somehow reciprocate it through that avenue and open up the real estate conversation. And that's when the closer comes in and makes it happen.
Amazing. So how would you say you leverage technology when it comes to your business, whether it's, digital marketing, just enhancing your real estate business in general?
I got to say I'm coachable in that department right now, because I know there's people out there doing it better, and that's why I'm excited to work with you guys, because we'll bring in the AI component into not only the loan side, but giving that better client experience. And that's what I need to focus on, because when so many people want to have like these conversations, you want to narrow down the funnel and just say, hey, these are the ones I should focus on right now. And then you move on to the other people. You can only be talking to so many people. So technology is like a big factor in helping bring value, and the communication, keeping open lines of communication with these people. So I'm improving on that. I started coaching with Mike Ferry organization, and they're all about like, hey, stay focused over here. Don't bring the technology component of it. But I understand, I see value in that, where I have to have guidance in that and keep that going, because everybody that's coming into the business and is good at that just so happens to be a lot of the young people. Man, they do things quick and they deliver and they're consistent, and technology is helping them get through a lot of things that weren't available to us more seasoned agents, like the decades and decades ago, like you said.
I think that's such an important mindset to have, when especially you are so successful and you know what you're doing and what works for you, and to be able to say, hey, I still want to learn what else I can do to continue to grow. I think that's a really admirable quality and mindset.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a struggle. You got to swallow your ego, your pride, and just you got to be coachable, because this ever-changing market requires you to do that. If not, then there's no such thing as homeostasis. You're dying or you're growing. You just got to be growing.
Yeah. So I mean, it is a pretty crazy market right now, and the market as a whole, it is very cyclical, and no one really knows what's coming up next. How do you stay updated with the latest market trends, changes in the real estate industry?
There's channels that I follow, but it's a little interesting because those channels I follow, sometimes I think they just say too much and they create fear. I mean, if you look at the news, there's all kinds of fear that's out there for the consumers. So looking at the macro, I understand it. And I just want to jump in, look at the facts, look at the numbers, jump out. Because what I really focus on is the micro, the trenches that I'm in and the areas that I'm working on. At the end of the day, this morning, I saw that home prices fell another X amount, and it's like doom and gloom real estate news. And I come into my office and I'm negotiating, 50, 60,000 above asking price on properties. And this is what I communicate to buyers. And it's got to have that urgency. I was just having a conversation before we got on this podcast, really creating that urgency with the buyer, because, hey, the summer, it's about to get turned up because everybody's, the kids are out of school, people are moving, they make plans for this time. So you're going to have that much more competition. So if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it because, hey, rates have been increasing, and the supply chain is just drying up, and it's not changing. At the end of the day, the lack of supply continues to be an issue. I don't see that changing in the very near future. So I focus on educating the buyers on what I'm dealing with, and when they start hesitating a little bit, it's like, hey, these three around you, this is what happened. Why would anything different happen? This just happened 15 days ago. It closed at this, and look at these three comps. So the decision they're making, it's backed up by that. And any decision is as good as the facts. So I deliver the facts, which have no feelings, no emotions. It's just is what it is. That's why I'm recommending that.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, to be able to be that advisor to your clients and share the facts, the information that you're seeing every day. Because so often as consumers, we turn on the news and we think that is exactly what's happening. And there often is all of that, doom and gloom and fear, and okay, it must not be the right time to buy, when, you as the real estate agent or loan officers out there, they're seeing what's actually happening with clients and home prices and offers, purchases. So, being that advisor that's in the trenches and can share really true experiences of what's happening is so valuable.
Yes.
So for our our loan originators that are watching, what advice do you have for originators who would be, trying to win the business and the partnership of a successful, big producer like yourself?
The ones I work with them because they implement the same philosophy that I do, which is bringing value. There's so many agents that want to not infiltrate, but they try to form that relationship. And I'm not about the donuts all of a sudden, like, hey, I eat healthy. Why would I want donuts? But they do that because that's what's common in our industry, right?
Right.
There's a lot of things that they do where between emails and messages, but the ones that stand out are the ones that are sharing certain programs that I know will benefit some buyers. I mean, sometimes I'll get from 100 text messages, one that'll be like, hey, tell me a little bit more about that. I try to acknowledge a lot of the originators that come and attempt to meet with me, because I know just like I'm out there prospecting, so are they. So I try to help some of them that are coming at me a certain way. I'm like, hey, why don't you do this? And we'll see. Because sometimes the ones I work with is when the other ones, something happens and, the relationship is affected, and then the timing is right. So just be there when the timing is right, be consistent. And it's a numbers game. You have to go after so many agents over so long before you're just there. So always be there and always be available. So sometimes I'll call some people that are not, like, I don't work with them, but I know they're consistently, like, here in my office. I know they're here and they're always reaching out to me. So when the one that I work with or the ones that I work with are not available, then I'll go to them, because they've been consistent and consistently bringing me information that I should know that ultimately serves my clients.
Yeah. So be consistent is definitely one of them, right? And the other thing that I heard is, basically be genuine. Don't just send donuts to someone that you don't even know if they like donuts, right?
Yes.
Because that's something that anyone can do. So, when you're trying to win the business of a client, I imagine, get to know what's important to them, what value you can add to them, and then be consistent.
Yes.
I like what Luther says. He doesn't eat donuts, but that's the definition of Luther. Everything he does is by the book, is disciplined. So how's your schedule like? Your typical day?
How far back do you want to take it? When I wake up, I wake up at 4:30. I hit the gym. I take my kids to school. My wife takes 2 of them. I take one. Today was her last day, interestingly enough. And then I get to work. I'm not always in the office, but I'm out, looking for buyers for my sellers and looking for sellers for my buyers, pretty much. So there's always got to be like that number that I got to hit, where on my center of influence and past clients, the number for me is 25, where I need to contact 25 of them. And people focus on like, hey, I have all these people in my database. It's a relationship with the people in the database. It's not just I have all these people. So I nurture and cultivate those relationships on a daily basis, so that when anybody talks about anything having to do with real estate, I ideally would have created fans, not past clients, raving fans, if you will. Somebody that says, oh, I know a guy, he's the right guy for you because my experience was this, pretty much like Nordstrom experience versus anything else. I'm sure you know that, Pavan. Sounds like he's muted.
Yeah, no, it's still a little noisy, but so I think you hit the nail on the head, and I see a common thread with you and every other top producer I speak with. It's always, you start early and you have a very disciplined schedule the whole day. And loan originators and real estate agents, we're self-employed basically, and you're running your own business, and that actually means more responsibility, and it's harder, not less responsibility. A lot of originators and realtors forget that. So I think, for as long as I've known you, and just like every part of what you do, it's so carefully thought through and planned and structured, right? Even like that suit you're wearing, the tie, everything is like precise, right? And it shows in every little thing that you do, and that's what leads to the results that got you to the top.
Yeah, I'm even working on not thinking about things so much. I have a challenge with that. It stumps me sometimes. So I blame it on the engineering side, where I'm like thinking about way too many options, too many things. I just got to execute and get things done. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, that's
You-
something
you know-
you two have in common. Two engineers that ended up in the real estate mortgage space.
we
Oh.
both are hyper analytical.
Oh, I didn't know that about you, Pavan. Great.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
That's why we have long pauses between our conversations. We're thinking about things so much. So what's the
Yeah.
next question you have, Ann?
Well,
Angel?
yeah. The next question, I think I have a question for Angel. Can you show our audience some of the things that you've shown Luther on how to make AI make money for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we've been talking about that's been a common thread is, being consistent, building relationships, the prospecting piece, how important that is. Luther, you said your number's 25, making 25 contacts a day. And that's also been a common thread as we talk to top producers, is they've got a number. It's not just arbitrary. You have a number, so when your day can be complete because you've met that goal. One of the really cool things that Morgan can do for real estate agents is helping with that lead prospecting, because what you can use Morgan for is to connect you with those people who are ready to talk to you. So if you are one of those people who you have a huge database of leads, and we all only have 24 hours in the day, calling through every single one of them, and are you able to make contact? Are they interested in talking to you? Are they ready to buy or sell right now or in the next couple of months? What Morgan can do is save you all of that time and just deliver to you the people who are interested in talking to you, have a project in mind that's coming up in a specific time frame, so that you're spending your time actually talking to and building those relationships with the people who it is going to turn into a deal for you. So I'll show you how to do that in Morgan. It is super simple. It takes just a couple minutes. The first thing that you're going to want to do, though, when you want to get lead prospecting started, the first thing that you want to do is create an account. For that reason, Morgan will remember your information. She'll be able to contact you. So when she's got a lead on the line that says, yep, let me talk to Luther, Morgan already has your information. She can do a warm transfer right over. So I'll share my screen. First, I'll show you all how to actually just create that account, which is a pretty quick and easy process. So to access Morgan, you just go to usemorgan.com. And you hit Let's Chat. All right, let's hit Let's Chat. All right, and all you have to do is consent to the terms and conditions if it's your first time accessing, and then tell Morgan your name and just say create account. So everything that you do within Morgan is in this super simple chat format. So you just talk to Morgan. So once you say create account, she's going to walk you through the process. So first, she's going to ask for your email address, and she'll send you a code to your email. So you go out to your inbox, get that 4-digit code. That way you can verify that you didn't, fat finger anything. You got your email address in there correctly. Then she's going to ask for your cell phone number. You do have to consent to receiving a text from Morgan. Got to do everything by the book here. So once you do accept receiving text, she's going to send you a text message with a 4-digit verification code. And sometimes people ask why all this verification, and you have to remember that this is for financial services. So when you're working with Morgan, you want to make sure that everything is secure, very important. So She does verify your email address and your passcode, or excuse me, and your phone number. And then you just create your password and you're done. So now Morgan has your contact information so she can help you with your leads, send you weekly reports when she is working on your leads to tell you what's going on. And then once you have that account, all you have to do is tell Morgan you have a file of leads for her to follow up on. It takes just a couple minutes to get this going. So here you can see I'm telling Morgan, I've got a bulk file of leads for you to follow up on. And she's going to ask me for the file. So right in the system, there's that little paperclip icon. So I can browse for the file and send it right over to her. So if you have a CRM or anywhere that you're keeping track of your leads, you can just export it, whether it's a CSV, Excel, a Word doc. You could even give her a handwritten note. Morgan doesn't care what format it's in. You just send it on over to her. She's going to ask what you want done. So you can have a email campaign, you can have a phone campaign, or you can have her doing both. I'll be clear, it is not AI doing the phone calls. No one wants the robocall. So Morgan does have her human assistants. We call them Morganistas. They are the ones making the phone calls. They're all bilingual English and Spanish. And their goal is always just to connect that person with you. So they will follow a phone script. That's the next thing Morgan is going to ask me for. So you can actually provide your own custom email templates, your own custom phone scripts that the Morganistas will follow when they're calling. So you just do the same thing. You attach your files for your email template you want used, your phone script that you want used, and that's it. So just a couple minutes, and Morgan says, thank you. I'm going to be contacting leads on your behalf and keep you updated through weekly reports. So every week now, you're going to get a report of everything that was done on your leads. How many contacts were attempted, how many went through, how many contacts were actually made. If the Morganista spoke to someone and maybe they weren't ready to talk to you now, but they said, I think this fall we're going to start looking at moving, that's all going to be in the report, that analysis. So super easy way to kind of weed through those files of hundreds or thousands or however many leads that you have in those databases and get to those people who are, ready to go or very close to being ready to go.
Awesome. Can you hear me now? How's my sound?
We can hear you now.
So behind me,
the old Verizon commercial.
Behind me is the Reykjavik Harbor, and this is Anthony's daughter, Josie. So I'm in Iceland. Got a little out of schedule here with the family, so we're just about heading back to our hotel. Got 1 hour behind schedule. So, but in any case, that was a great presentation, Angel, Morgan. And something Luther said earlier about, I think Luther, you call yourself old. What I remember.
Something like that. Seasoned.
Yeah. So, the point is that I think I read a stat that 50% of all home buyers are going to be millennials. And millennials are all, as you know, into their phones and now into AI and so forth. So you can't ignore the technology anymore. And it's like you can't even communicate with them anymore unless you're plugged in. And so the way that Morgan works is you're able to connect through the AI. You're able to connect directly to your customer in a multi-way conversation. So Angel, could you show that for a minute? And then I'm going to talk about how that's really important for the new generation of home buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can have essentially group chats going with Morgan, where you can invite anyone into the conversation. In fact, you can have multiple people in your Morgan conversation. So you're able to bring the assistance, the expertise of Morgan directly to your clients. And what you're seeing here, it says create new errand. You also can have multiple conversations going with Morgan all at once. So when you start a new errand, you're just starting a new conversation. So that way you can be having your own conversations. You can invite a client into a different conversation, use them, however makes sense to you, organize them however makes sense to you. But I'm going to start a new errand. I'm calling this one friend because we're going to use the add a friend feature. So up in the top left-hand corner, you see this little person icon with a plus sign. So if you click on that, it just says slide to invite friend. And then Morgan's going to help you add that friend into the conversation. So she's just going to ask for their name, their email address, and for their phone number. So that way they can receive both a text message and an email with a link to join the conversation. So that way, whether they want to be on their computer or on their phone, they have access to join. So that's what it looks like. They get an email, they get that text message, and it makes it really simple for them because they just click on that link and then they're in the conversation. So you can see it says friend added. So yes, there is an app for Morgan. You can find it in the App Store. However, the URL usemorgan.com has just as good of functionality. So when you're inviting a client into the chat, they're not, clicking on the link and then they get brought to their App Store and then they have to download the app and hopefully they remember their iCloud password to download the app and then they're registering and then they can be in the conversation. You're going to lose them. That's a lot of steps, right? So if they just click on the link, they're brought into their browser right into the conversation. And then you and Morgan and your client can have a conversation, whether it's they have, questions about mortgage programs, down payment assistance programs that might be available, or if they're ready to apply. Maybe you're out at happy hour tonight and you meet a client and you want to take them out house shopping tomorrow. Invite them into a conversation with Morgan. Morgan will help them get that pre-approval application in. And by tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., if you're doing it by 8 p.m., you'll have the PDF of that pre-approval letter. And that's a fully underwritten pre-approval letter.
Yeah, and not only that, for real estate agents, it's invaluable because you could connect your customer into the conversation. So you, the AI, and the customer are talking. And you can also invite the loan officer to the conversation. And everyone's connected on their phone. And it's, like my daughter's a millennial. She wouldn't do it any other way. She hates getting on the phone. Right? She actually hates talking. She loves texting. She hates talking. Right. And so, that's the market. That's where it's headed. And the reason you want to have the AI involved in that conversation is that as the borrower is telling you what's going on in their life with their, the raise that they just got, or whatever it is, the reason for their credit score being lower or what have you, Morgan is tracking that and is dynamically qualifying them as the conversation occurs. So that's the power of AI. So as it's picking all that up and it's finding and behind the scenes at speeds, unimaginable speeds, right? That is finding loan programs for the customer. That there's no way a human could ever do it as fast as an AI could do it. And that's where the real power of this comes in. So you as a realtor can get immediate responses and answers to customers And not only that, but give them responses and answers and results that will never change on you, right? That will never have a last minute blow up. Has that ever happened to you, Luther? Do you ever have a loan or a deal that had a problem just before closing, or
Yeah.
you think you got a pre-approval and then you get it, and then you find a house and then you don't have an approval?
Yes, unfortunately, it's been with the agents that the loan agents that the buyer insists that they use, that I have no experience with. And we try to do that, and we try to avoid that at all costs by relaying examples and things that can happen. At some point, we contractually protect them, but there's only so much we can do. When you remove contingencies, they're fully committed, and that happens after the fact. It's happened. So yes, it's real. Human error is a thing, will continue to be a thing. So things can be missed.
Yeah. And that's where the AI comes in, is everything that the AI says, because it's a computer and it runs thousands, tens of thousands of scenarios in a second. So it'll find all the paths right up front. And that's why when it's done and it delivers a result, I'm so confident about it that SunWest backs it 100%. So if the AI gives an answer, says, given your W-2s and your bank statements and whatever, and your tax returns, you qualify for $500,000, that's not going to change. Obviously, unless the borrower changes, something changes in the borrower's life, but that's not going to change. So so you get that answer right up front in a couple of minutes, and you can take that to the bank. It's going to close that way. And it's just like my experience with agents and loan officers when I walk them through this. It's this long period of disbelief, like trying to understand how is that even possible, right? And what that means. When I explain it to consumers, it's funny because when the consumers, when I explain it to them, I said their natural reaction is, well, shouldn't it be that way? Is that how it works? Right? So consumers expect realtors and loan officers to give them answers, and the answer to be right every single time. Right? Consumers never expect realtors and loan officers to say, "Oops, something changed." Right? And that's the big disconnect in the marketplace. So when you're an agent and you have AI reliability in your fingertips, and you have that guarantee behind it, that makes you deliver, fulfill the consumer's expectations. And ultimately, as you said in the beginning of the call, Luther, it's all about, establishing a relationship through service, and you have to deliver that expectation. Right? The customer has a certain expectation. The customer, basically, you're a licensed professional, you're an experienced professional. The customer expects that every word that comes out of your mouth is reliable and guaranteed. And all of these years, that's been hard to do because the technology just simply hasn't been there to help people do that. So it just took lots and lots of knowledge and experience and training to be able to deliver that level of reliability, which now, novice loan officers are frankly as good as expert loan officers, because they have tools at their fingertips. And also, realtors are in effect as good as expert loan officers, because you can go yourself and ask Morgan whatever questions, qualifying questions, scenarios, problems, situations that you have. You can ask it, and it'll give you an answer, and that answer is rock solid because there's real money behind it. So Angel, on the Morgan side, can you walk through some of the other tips that you normally often get asked about?
Yes. One thing that going back to that guarantee that you stand behind anything that Morgan tells you, I think that is wildly important for people to understand, especially with, all the AI that's been coming out in the past. It seems like the past 6 months, all of a sudden there's AI everywhere. And that's a really important thing to understand, is what the technology is and what the purpose is. So we hear AI, we think artificial intelligence, there's, Chat GPT is a really popular one out there. Morgan AI is augmented intelligence. And what that means is there's always some level of human oversight available in the system. And that's where we can offer that warranty to anything Morgan tells you. So if you've used something like ChatGPT, you type in your question or your request, you hit enter, and immediately you're seeing the things typing back to you. So it's fun to use it. Everything has its purpose, but it'll even tell you when you log on, you get the warning. Some information may not be accurate. We do our best. I think it even says some may be dangerous. And it has limited access to information after the year 2021. So, it has its purpose. It can write you a poem. There's some fun things you can do with it. But is information you're getting from it something you want to risk your reputation or a client or your client's life savings on? Probably not, right? So the difference with Morgan and being augmented intelligence is when you get an answer from Morgan, you're getting one correct answer. And to do so requires that augmented intelligence piece. So if for whatever reason, maybe you the way that you phrase the question throws Morgan off, or maybe you ask Morgan a question that the AI hasn't learned yet, because it is always learning. Morgan's going to give you an ETA. She might say, "Great, give me a couple minutes here." When you get that answer back, it's going to be the one correct answer. Still saving you a ton of time, either doing the research yourself, hoping you found the correct up-to-date information on the internet, that you're interpreting the guideline right, what have you, that you're doing the income calculation correct, up-to-date guidelines, all of that stuff. So in a couple minutes, you're still getting the one correct answer. So I like to really think of Morgan as a personal assistant. I type a question to Morgan. If I have another one, I'll open a new errand, a new conversation, type in my next question, and then kind of just go about whatever else I need to go about. And I know that correct answer is coming through. So I think that's a really important thing to understand about when you're using Morgan, what that experience is going to be like. So I can even show kind of what that looked like for me. I did kind of a rapid fire, ask a bunch of questions to Morgan. And you can see in these questions, I get pretty specific. So you can get as, nuanced with your question as you'd like. And in fact, I would encourage you to do that, because the more information, the more specific your question, the more specific Morgan's answer can be. So if you ask a really high level generic question, Morgan's going to give you a high level generic answer, or she may even come back and ask you for more information. So what you're seeing here is I'm just hitting that new errand button. I'm giving it whatever title I want that makes sense to me, and I'm asking her my next question. And I rapid fire this thing. I think I asked her like 10 different questions here. And you can already see on the right-hand side where it says Morgan current errands. I've got a new message already for that first question that I had asked. So, whether it's a question about a guideline, want to find out about down payment assistance programs available in your area, or, does a borrower qualify for down payment assistance? If you want to, run an underwriting scenario, drop in everything you know about the client and ask the question, can we make this work? What product would be best? Anything that you would want to ask an underwriter, Morgan can answer for you. And again, it's going to be that warranted answer. I don't know a single underwriter that will warranty, or lender that will warranty anything their underwriter tells you. And
that's a really good point. We had at a conference recently, we had a loan officer from a competing lender who will remain nameless, was feeling very threatened by Morgan, and said, look, I just went to ChatGPT and I asked it for the FHA loan limits in San Bernardino County. And then I did the same thing in Morgan, and Morgan took longer. And then when we went and take a look at it, the ChatGPT came out with the answer really fast, but it came out with the wrong answer. Right? It was the old limits before the recent change. So that's the whole point, right? It's when it's your money on the line, you can't take a gamble, right? And these GPT, which is generative pre-trained transformers, they're based off probabilistic, right? They're based off internet data, and it's probabilistic. It's all probability. So there's no, when it's hundreds of thousands of dollars online, you can't take a chance, right? As Einstein said, God doesn't play dice with the universe, and that means you certainly don't want anyone playing dice with your money, right? So you need a system, an AI, that is not just returns an answer, but always returns the right answer. And I think this is kind of cool. I mean, it's the first time I've seen you do this, Angel. We've done a number of these broadcasts together, but you literally went in here and rapid fired 10, 15 questions at Morgan at the same time.
Yeah.
Completely different things. And you see these things start popping back one after the other. And that's literally how it works. And you can't overload an AI. You just keep asking it stuff. What a lot of people do is for each borrower that they're talking to, or each file they're working on, they'll just open up a new errand and keep track of it on that left bar or the right bar for them. And Morgan, once you register, your conversations are tracked. So you go from your phone to your tablet to your PC, and every time you log in, you get your whole history, and all your errands and everything is always there. The history never disappears. So it really becomes sort of your system of record, and keeping track of everything. And in any one of those errands, you can invite your customer into that conversation, or you can invite any number of people into that conversation. The title officer, the loan officer, whoever you want. And that's how you keep the communication going, keep everyone in sync. And as you have those conversations with the AI in the middle, the AI is listening, is paying attention, and is capturing the data, and is keeping things moving forward. So if you had, for example, invited a title officer to the conversation, and the title officer said, okay, here's an updated prelim, right? And maybe the title officer just wanted to give you the updated prelim, but since you did it through Morgan captures that, and it will process it at the same time, and it will update the data in the loan, all within minutes. So just that power of having this thing, this personal assistant behind you, transparently and picking up stuff for you automatically is tremendous. Like, you don't have to remember to forward it to your loan officer, or to forward it to the underwriter, or to have it get reviewed. It'll just happen as you do these things in Morgan. This is why everything, the deals that go through Morgan just close so fast. The loans, when a loan app is taken, it's gone from loan application, literally from loan application to underwriting submission within an hour, under 60 minutes, because the AI just takes care of it. It cranks through it all, and gets it into underwriting. And And of course, the underwriting itself is the AI. Right. And the only reason we call it a separate underwriting process, underwriting step, because if the AI has an exception, if something very complex that it cannot figure out or that it hasn't learned yet, then a human underwriter gets brought into the loop and processes those specific tasks. So our underwriting team is very small, yet they can process through thousands of loans every month. Because 99% of the work is done by the AI. They only have to look at what AI escalates for exception. And what that means to you as a realtor is there's no oopsies. I remember, Luther, you told me a story about a loan officer that tried to avoid a situation where the borrower had lost his job a week before, 2 weeks before closing. He tried to avoid it and is hoping it would go through without being noticed.
Yeah. So how would Morgan catch something like that?
Well, here's the thing: is that Morgan, if you don't tell Morgan, obviously Morgan's not going to know, right? If the loan officer hid it from Morgan, Morgan's not going to know either. But what happens though is because loan officers that use Morgan, right, consumers are looped into the system, and a consumer's first reaction would be to tell Morgan, "Hey, I just lost my job. What do I do next about my deal?" Right, and then Morgan will start the process automatically, right, and Morgan would then loop in the loan officer, loop in the realtor, and say, "Hey, here's the situation. What do we do next?" Right. And it's just by giving such a convenient access point to consumers, they will be very engaged with it because it's so convenient and so personal. One of the things that we say about Morgan, we call it empathetic technology. This is an area of AI science where the AI is trained to understand how you're feeling. And you know, as sales professionals, as part of the big thing that you do with clients, it's keep track of the emotional levels and adjust your tone and your strategy based on how the client is feeling about a certain situation. Well, AI can mimic some of that behavior, and if the AI can sense the client is stressed, and it will respond accordingly. And usually, when the client is stressed, the first thing the AI does is immediately loop in, you know, the appropriate human, whether it's an executive of at the lender, or the loan officer, or the realtor, depending on what's going on in the situation. So,
oh, that's impressive.
Yeah. So it could completely avoid that whole situation. I think, you know, my personal opinion, you know, I was a good loan officer back in the day when I was originating a lot of loans, and the reason is I wasn't afraid of the bad news. Right. You know, and I don't know why a lot of agents, I think it's a common mistake. A lot of loan officers run away from the bad news. A lot of loan officers, frankly, you know, speaking from this side of the table, from a loan side of the table, and you're on the real estate side of the table, loan officers are really scared of you, Luther. Especially the bigger the agent, the more trophies you have behind you, the more loan officers are scared of you, and they're just like terrified of delivering the bad news. But what they should see is when they see all those trophies behind you, they should see that, hey, this is a professional. This guy knows what he's doing. He's got his, you know, he's seen it all. He's done it all, and he's a partner. He can help. Right? He can help resolve a problem. And loan officers, and you know, in my opinion, they forget that. They forget that the realtor is their partner in the process, and two heads are better than one. They can help get things resolved. Right. So, you know, when the AI is there and it's convenient and it's simple, and everyone's communicating through it, right? So you create a platform where you have increased communication, just sort of like email, right? Now, if you think about it, you know, how email is different than regular mail, right? It's faster, that's all, but it completely changed the way we communicate with each other, right? And then came instant messaging, that changed everything, right? Well, AI is the next step of that, because now not only are we instant communicating with each other, but there is a bot that's listening to this communication and automatically taking actions for you, just as if you had a personal secretary next to you all the time, taking notes for you. And if let's say if you told me right now, this is your anniversary, right? My personal assistant would take a note of that and send you flowers. But in this case, Morgan is there in that conversation, making those same kinds of decisions.
Mm.
Right. And that's the really incredible power of this thing. And I think, going back to what you were saying about the Mike Ferry coaching, and he's the greatest coach of all time. I mean, like the number one. But the reality is that the technology is at a point where so much of the stuff that was being taught to be done manually are being taught to be done by your assistants. Okay, that stuff is now completed by AI, and the agents that are embracing it are basically, not only saving cost but accelerating. Things are getting done faster for them. Just like as if you had a typewriter versus a word processor versus email, right? Everything just goes faster. It doesn't replace people; it just goes faster. That means you get more work done.
There's a saying, speed to lead is everything. So
yes,
in today's just info speed world, everybody expects things to be done and information to be transmitted in a very efficient timeline. So
yes.
that's definitely appreciated. Can't wait to put it to the test.
Yes, and not only that is speed of the information is speed of the process is one thing, but now we're at an age where connectivity, information connecting between people has to go faster and more intuitively, right? It seems nowadays where even email is too bulky. It's too big of a barrier. People want it simpler, more robust, more personal, and that's where an application like Morgan comes in, where it's even faster than email, and more supportive than email, because it'll turn around and do things for you as you and I have conversations.
So we are right about at time coming up at the end of our call today. Luther, any last nuggets of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, nothing else. Nothing else. It surprised me that Pavan said there's anyone that's scared of me. Nobody should be scared of me. I'm a nice guy. No, but it's good to see that. I didn't expect Morgan to have the emotions considered. That's awesome. I'm gonna ask you if it can just choose where I should take my wife to eat. That would be the ultimate.
Well, you can ask it if she loves you. Start with that. Start with something simpler.
I will.
But at the end of the day, Luther, you're incredibly successful, and you're incredibly disciplined, and those two things often scare people.
I see.
Yeah, so it is you're the nicest guy in the world, and you're also smart as as it comes. And
keep it coming, Pavan. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, thank you for you guys. I appreciate your time and your knowledge and what you're sharing, and I can't wait to start seeing these results that Morgan is going to bring to our not only database, but all the new people we're going to venture off into, all new connections.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for.
Go ahead.
Well, thanks everybody for attending. Thanks for putting up with my logistical issues here today. But Iceland is beautiful. I do recommend everyone visiting Iceland. I do put a plug in for Iceland. Reykjavik is an amazing place. Reykjavik is an amazing place, and I do take some time off with my family every now and then, but it's always managed to do the work and the family at the same time.
That's what you can do because you've got Morgan, right?
Yes, that's right. Cheers,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Bye,
Enjoy the
guys.
rest of your day.